Good morning. My name is Jo, and if you haven't met me yet, I am an ordinand at the benefice of Desborough, Braybrook, Dingley and Brampton Ash. An ordinand, for those of you that don't know, is somebody who is in training to be a priest. And I am here on Bournemouth Beach, where I am visiting my eldest daughter, who's just started uni here, just enjoying a morning walk along the beach. And I thought I'd share with you a few thoughts from the story of Peter walking on the water with Jesus. And I don't know if you know that story. You can find it in Matthew 14 if you don't know it. But the story tells of how Jesus sent his disciples off ahead of him in a boat, and he stayed behind, and the disciples were in the boat, and a storm was brewing and the storm got stronger, and then they see Jesus walking towards them on the water, and at first they don't recognise him, and then they do recognise him, and Peter says, "Lord, if it is you, then ask me to come." And Jesus tells Peter to come, and Peter gets out of the boat and walks on the water towards Jesus. And just for that few moments, Peter is walking on water, and then the Bible says he notices the wind and he begins to sink, and he cries out to Jesus, and Jesus reaches out a hand and rescues Peter, and they both safely get back into the boat. And I think what God has been saying to me through that story is that Peter notices the wind. The wind was there already. They were in the middle of a storm. It didn't suddenly pick up when Peter decided to walk on the water. The wind was already raging. And Peter was more focused on Jesus than he was the wind. And then he got out of the boat, he took that step of faith, and suddenly he noticed the wind. And I think what God has been saying to me, and maybe you would find other things in this story. There is so much that God has spoken to me in this story about over the years. But I think what God is saying to me is that I feel a bit like I've got out of the boat on this ordination journey, and I've had moments where I've had wobbles. But actually it's because I'm noticing things that were already there. I'm noticing that I'm not that academic, and I knew that already, but when I had my eyes fixed on Jesus, it didn't seem that relevant, and then suddenly I'm in the throes of academia and it feels big. I feel daunted, and there's just things that I noticed that actually God's saying, don't notice them, keep looking at me, and you could walk on this water, and actually if I keep my eyes on Jesus, then the waves, although they'll still be there, actually they're not so important. What's important is that I'm focused on Jesus. So I just encourage you today, keep your eyes on Jesus and you will rise above the wind and the waves. So I'll leave that with you.